Ladies and gentlemen, hey, hi, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for stopping by with the Season 2 Reloaded update this week in Warzone. We obviously got another new meta update. We saw a new weapon added to the rotation, and we saw various different buffs and nerfs to a handful of different weapons. And so with that today, I wanted to break down the overall Warzone meta now, post Season 2 Reloaded, and see which weapons truly are meta, top tier, just competitive, whatever the case may be after the update. So per usual, we are on our full tier list breakdown here, and as we go through all the changes that were made, if you enjoy the video, if you find it helpful, do me a favor, drop a like on it. And if you're new to the channel or you simply have not subscribed yet, feel free to hit that subscribe button, turn on those post notifications, because every single day I got you covered with all things going on in COD. News, updates, patch notes, meta breakdowns like this. It's all right here on a daily basis. First things first though, when it comes to the brand new update, we gotta talk about the SOA Subverter, our brand new weapon. This is a new battle rifle, decently versatile for a battle rifle, incredibly easy to use, decent damage throughout. It is a little heavy and a little slow for where you're going to be using it. I would say the most, like, it really feels more of like an assault rifle than a full-on battle rifle or something, and in comparison there are more aggressive builds out there. For that reason, really the mobility is the only thing I think is lacking here. I gotta say it's top tier easily. I mean, this thing will put it in there with the other battle rifles in the BAS-B. It's nice. It fries, like I said, super easy to use and very low risk, high reward style weapon here. So definitely up towards the top and absolutely in the meta conversation. If you like the feel of this, this could be your go-to #1 gun and you'd find a lot of success with it. But now throughout the remainder of this, I've got my handy dandy list of everything that ended up changing in this update. We'll go through and we'll reorganize things as needed for the overall meta here. So first up with the actual weapon changes, the MCW, the ACR, ended up getting a mid-range damage buff across the board, and also a range buff. It's nice that it ended up getting a buff, but it wasn't nearly significant enough. This is a super easy weapon to use, but its damage is still decently underwhelming. It's better after this update for sure. Obviously it was buffed, but its TTK is just not competitive enough to bring it out of the competitive category and land it with some of the other rifles like the BP50, the Holger, the Ram, so on and so forth. It just can't hang there yet. It's close, but this update just wasn't enough. Now this is one I think is pretty interesting. The Holger 556 actually got buffed even more. I was already having it in the top tier category as is. I would say it was more so fringe competitive top tier. Now I think it's more solidified in the top tier category though, because they got a close range buff and then they added a mid-range variable to it essentially. So it's already a really easy rifle as is. It's got a decent TTK, especially over the longer and the mid-range areas. Its only real drawback is its magazine capacity, 40 rounds or whatever, isn't all that great. So not having 50, not having 60 is probably going to limit it ever from being an absolute meta unless its damage just goes berserk. But it is certainly a top tier rifle and another one that is very low skill gap. You can pick this up and just fry with it constantly. Now really before this update, the BP50 should have been an absolute meta. We just didn't go through and fully update it once all stats were revealed, and we've seen some changes here and there, but it did get nerfed decently with this update, unfortunately. So top tier is probably where I'd land it more now as an accurate rating, I would say, because they nerfed its close range damage, which allowed it to be sniper support or long range, and that, in my opinion, is what made it absolute meta. They also nerfed its tac stance and its hip fire spread. It also got some decent mobility nerfs, and they added more horizontal recoil to it as well. So its TTK over long range, 50, 60, 70 meters, is still basically best in class, but its damage per mag out at those distances where you got to factor in accuracy is not as good. So it's still a solid rifle, but it's certainly one that is no longer the do-it-all rifle that it was before the update. A little bit bummed because I was really enjoying the BP50. Now the SVA, already an absolute meta rifle in my opinion, actually got buffed. They buffed the sprint to fire and the ADS speed, so now it's even more aggressive. You'll love to see that. Now the Ram 7, it was already, in my opinion, close to being dropped down at a top tier from absolute meta because with the season 2 update, they nerfed its long range so much. But with this update, they nerfed its close range. So it's got like an 8-meter drop off now in its first damage range, as opposed to it was previously just over 30 meters. You can extend it out some with certain attachments, but for the do-it-all rifle that the Ram was, very similar to the BP50, it is knocked down a bit here. I think it's still going to be really good for, you know, sniper support style builds, or even some long range if you're just very comfortable with it. It's got a competitive enough TTK, but I also don't think it's an absolute meta option right now either, just based on its current TTK values in comparison to some other things that can do really well in certain areas. It's a great option still, but no longer a clear, you're going to run into the Ram 15 times a game scenario. Hey everyone, quickly wanted to give a shout out to my friends over at G Fuel. We've got our in-game metas that we of course talk about all the time, but we also got to show some love to the out-of-game metas as well. And the most effective tactic available, the meta for staying focused and energized, is picking up some G Fuel. They got a little bit of something for everyone in terms of flavors, but my personal favorites, Hype Sauce, the GOAT. They also just brought back Watermelon Mint, which is absolutely incredible. And lately, I've also been loving the new Sage Mode Hydration Tub as well. There's no caffeine in that, just perfect for staying hydrated. And if you do want to pick up anything for yourself, be sure to throw in code IMMORTAL at checkout for a nice little discount. The link for that will be down below if you're interested. Another surprising one, the MTZ-762 caught some decent nerfs here. They nerfed the damage across the board and also several different damage multipliers as well. The TTK was what was keeping this thing alive, if I'm being honest, because its magazine capacity was not good. Its recoil is not phenomenal. This one, really more so than anything, I would say is now fringe top tier and competitive, and its ammo capacity is so limited that it might actually just be more competitive now than anything. It's fringe for sure. Like if you're really comfortable with this, you could still get away with using it, but I think competitive is a more appropriate rating for it given its damage per mag now and its drastically lower TTK. With this update and what changed with it there. Kind of surprised they hit this one. Now the Sidewinder actually got another recoil buff. I'm not sure it needed it, but they did it. It's still just competitive because it's so unforgiving with its fire rate, but it is in the right hands a very good battle rifle. We covered it recently. It's nice the glow up that this thing's seen. It went from being the worst gun in the game objectively to actually pretty usable now, and it's nice that it's getting even better. Now the AMR-9, not super relevant to the base weapon here in our base ranking, but the Jack Etten double barrel kit is now even easier to use because they made the recoil straight vertical. So if you're a fan of that hybrid build, you could use that, but just the base AMR-9, still an absolute beast. Now this is another one that I'm quite surprised by. The Ram-9, which has been definitively a top 3 SMG, maybe top 2 SMG since the launch of season 2, actually got better because they buffed various different barrels. The short barrel, the Imperator barrel, and the suppressor barrel all got buffs. So if you're running a barrel on these, the gun's gonna perform even better. And you don't even need a barrel on it because it's already super good as is. So the Ram is absolutely staying in the top tier absolute meta area. And right now it's a top 3 SMG in my opinion, easily. Now the Wasp-9 got some nice hipfire and tac stance buffs. Not super crazy though, so it's just gonna be staying in top tier there. They also fixed the P90 or the PDSW-528's iron sights. So they're gonna be easier to use now. It doesn't change the damage though. That's still pretty underwhelming. Now the Lockwood 680 got a very strange update because they made it so that all barrels, regardless of what one you're using, shoot 6 pellets. So essentially this is going to hurt something like the long barrel or the heavy barrel, whatever it's called, but help some of the shorter barrels. So it's kind of a pro and kind of a con. Gumi, I'm sure, is probably going to do some in-depth stuff here with all the different barrels and whatnot, but it's not really a buff or a nerf. It's just changing its behavior. Still, though, I mean, in Warzone right now, there's not really a super great shotgun meta to begin with. Now, this is one I've been anxiously awaiting. The Bruin, which was already one of my favorite guns in the game because it was a beast, just got better. It buffed the lower torso damage and a bunch of the mobility stats. We're talking ADS, strafe, general mobility. It's all better now. This is a serious contender for the long-range meta gun in the game right now. I mean, this thing is nice. Pretty easy to use, good damage per mag. It's got it all going right now. And the buff to this, I did not expect to happen, but I'm glad it did because it's one of my favorite guns as mentioned. So now I get to use something I already really enjoy and it's going to be even better. Now this is a bit of a strange one. I got to drop this one down. This is probably overdue, but the Pelum Yacht, it's really just not it anymore. The conversion kit's not that great and the base Pelum Yacht is not that great. They also increased the idle sway. So yeah, just the Pelum Yacht is not really it anymore. It's not really in the conversation. It's decent enough, but not something I'd be using a ton of. Now, a couple of the snipers actually got changed as well. The Stalker and the Cat, already the absolute meta snipers easily, both have faster ADS speeds now. So that's nice. It doesn't really change the damage or anything else outside of that, but they just got even more aggressive. So you love to see that. On the flip side though, the SPX 80, they actually nerfed its ADS speed. So I'm not sure who's using this because it's not good anyways, but if you were, it's now even worse. So like, that's just kind of rude at that point, right? Then lastly, here we got a couple of different pistol adjustments. The Renetti conversion kit ended up getting a damage buff, so that's nice. It'll be a little bit more powerful. It's still really slow for a pistol, and quite frankly, it's so easy easy to get a basic secondary that pistols aren't all that great to begin with, but the Renetti conversion is a little bit better. The Core 45 conversion kit, which does have a crazy TTK, actually got a buff to its velocity, which is not super impactful in the situations you're going to use it in. Then also the tier got a near to mid range buff, which is something, but it's also still just super weak after they nerf the snake shots and whatnot, so like it's gonna stay a niche regardless forever. But interesting change there. I don't think any of those pistol updates really do that much. They don't really move the needle per se, but this is a meta update that does balance things out a little bit more. Although I will say I'm kind of surprised that we didn't see any adjustments to the AMR9's TTK that is best in class. The HMR9 just being a do-it-all SMG, and same deal with the RAM9 there. And then again, not really seeing many MW2 guns buffed up all that much, which is a little bit disappointing in my opinion. But regardless, we still have, for the most part, a very competitive meta post Season 2 Reloaded. I've already gone through and broken down my top 10 best setups for a lot of the guns you see here. So if you're interested in the exact details there, feel free to go and check out that video. But if you enjoyed this one, do me a favor and drop a like on it. And if you're new to the channel, feel free to hit that subscribe button, turn on those post notifications, because every single day I got you covered with all things going on in COD. But once again, thank you so much for tuning in. And until next time, take it easy, have an awesome rest of your day, and I'll catch you later. Peace out.